MovieWeb.com.
So I wanted to ask you, you were extremely involved in this picture for someone who's the star of the movie. You're also the co-writer, producer. Can you tell me a little bit about taking on all those roles and sort of the challenges of balancing each thing during the process?
Yeah, that was tricky. I think really I took on a lot of those roles out of necessity. Mm-hmm. Mike is an incredible filmmaker because he does everything. You know, he comes up with stories, he directs, he shoots, he edits, and he loves to do all of those things, and that's part of how he really works as an artist, is this complete sort of, construction of his work. For me, I really am an actor, and that's what I love to do, and I wasn't reading a lot of things that inspired me, and I was reading a lot of stuff for women where the women are always sort of being kidnapped or held hostage, or they're
damsel in distress.
Damsel in distress, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be a part of putting out visions of girls into the world that, like, I wouldn't have wanted to take in as a little girl. And so I thought it'd be cool to just write better stuff for women, and especially if I'm going to do this for a living.
Yeah.
And
well, they say if they're not making what you like, make it yourself.
Make it yourself,
right?
yeah. So we started learning to write, trying to read screenwriting books, and trying to figure out how to tell a narrative so that we could keep ourselves employed.
And one thing I found really interesting about the film is, though, on the surface, it's almost, you expect science fiction, the title of the movie and sort of the basic premise. But one thing that struck me after I watched it was that you could really have almost the same story without the science fiction element. It's a very human, very sort of realistic drama. Was that important to sort of, you have this fantastical element, but then you really anchored it in real life? Were you constantly thinking about that?
Yeah, that was really important to us. We were always interested in high concept metaphysical ideas, and the kind of ideas that make you leave the theater with a sense of wonder. Like, what is, that sort of feeling. But we wanted to marry that with a substantive drama. And I don't know, I think we often went to the theater looking for those kinds of movies and didn't see them. It's like films are either really spectacle, sort of high concept driven, or there's, small substantive dramas, and you don't often see the two braided together. And so we were trying to do that, and it was a difficult thing to crack in the writing of it, because on one hand you're dealing with these like huge lofty ideas, like, how are people responding to the fact that there's another Earth in the sky, and the discovery of doppelgangers? Like, what are people even like on the streets? How are you dealing with that? And then you're trying to balance all of that thinking with what are the, genuine ways in which two people who have sort of suffered through tragedy together heal one another. So a lot of like macro, micro thinking, which is...
And it was a nice balance because, I found that there were moments, like there's a scene where you're in your room and I was engrossed in the human drama, and then you get out like the space plane ticket, and you're kind of like, oh yeah, I forgot for a minute that this is part of the story too.
It's a really delicate balance, and I think actually Mike, I give so much to Mike in the directing and in his vision of it, because you could easily topple over into making a film that just seems not real and sort of silly. Yeah. And I think for him it was really important in the way he shot it, in the way he edited it, in all of the construction, the colors, everything, for it to feel like a real story, that this thing was happening to real people, so much so that it would almost feel like what if you were watching someone's home video and you just captured another planet in the sky, and that kind of realism would make you believe. And so yeah, I think he did that very well.
Now, having been so involved in this picture and such a collaborative effort, is it going to be difficult to go into a movie where you're just acting, or are you looking forward to sort of the relief of just acting?
I love just acting. I love it because I think it's great. Writing is amazing, and I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to do that, and I think I will always do that. But even when you're writing with a collaborator, things are coming from your sort of shared point of view, and that point of view is so limited. I'm a girl who was born in America, who's in her 20s, who has had a certain set of experiences. You see the world a certain way, and the thing that's so intoxicating about being an actor is that you get to lose yourself in someone else's point of view, their way of seeing things in a story that you never would have conceived of, to become that person, to literally let go of who you are and, like, you know, travel somewhere with someone. That is the real thrill, I think, of being an actor. So I look forward to doing a lot more of that.
What types of stories like that are you looking for now, having done this?
Anything that's different from what I've done. I always like the feeling of, in taking something on that's new, I like to be a little bit afraid, like fearful that I might not, that it is a challenge, that I don't know, that will have to really stretch myself in a way to find this person, to live in this person. And if you're not doing that, then I think you're playing it safe. And if you're playing it safe, then I think you're never putting yourself out there to fail. And I think you have to fail and
if you're playing it safe, don't play at all. Right?
Yeah, I think you have to fail and make a fool of yourself to grow at all as an artist. You have to be willing to really make mistakes. Otherwise, you're sort of just treading water. I don't ever want to do that. So when I read things, I'm always looking for something that gives me that, like, tingle of, ooh, like, you know, could I do this? I don't know. Like, I'd love to try.